Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 81 of the Dads and Ed podcast. I am your humble host, Josh Allen. Pleased that the weather almost started turning for the better, and then it did not and turned back. It's after March, so we're ready for actual warm weather up here, not the snow that we saw yesterday. Four wonderful kids, one beautiful wife, tech integration specialist for Lewis Central in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Pleased to be joined tonight by
Devin Schoening in Council Bluffs, Iowa as well. I think I mentioned it before, right last time we were on. It's birthday season, so we were out at birthday dinner tonight. We have birthday tomorrow. Claire's 12th tomorrow, but we have show choir and other things going on tomorrow. So right in the midst of that, so that's why we're kind of walking in a little bit late tonight. I work for the Council Bluffs Community School District. I have a wonderful wife and two kids who are almost both teenagers now. Got a 12 and a 14-year-old as of tomorrow. So pretty excited for that.
Well, and I noticed the 14-year-old has a license now to drive a motor vehicle.
Yeah, she has her driver's permit. Let's talk a little bit about that later in Dad Moment of the Week. But yeah, finally made that official here the last couple days.
Nice. Well, if you have a driver's license, you're welcome to connect with the show because you're over 13 and you're able to be on social media and stuff. So
yeah,
connect with the show at Dads and Ed on Twitter. Use the hashtag Dads and Ed. If you missed part of the show, check out our website to watch the video replay at dadsanded.com. You can also subscribe to the audio version in iTunes or Google Play. Just do a search for Dads and Ed wherever you do that. And don't forget to check out all the other great podcasts on the Education Podcast Network at edupodcastnetwork.com. All right, so we didn't have a chance to talk about water cooler because your birthday-ing. It is one of our favorite seasons of the year, which is basketball season. It is championship week. We have not. So as of taping this is Wednesday night for those of you listening on the podcast, and we're halfway through championship week. So we don't know everyone who's getting in, but as you think about championship week and the NCAA's coming up. What do you think are going to be some exciting storylines or things for us to keep tabs on?
Yeah, it really is one of my favorite times of year, not just with the basketball, but obviously we have baseball starting and golf heating up for those of us who love golf. But yeah, I was listening to the radio the other day and I heard they were talking about I can't remember what show it was I was listening to, but they were talking about going into this NCAA tournament, whether or not the folks over at CBS and Turner are excited or a little bit scared about the fact that there doesn't seem to be that, that one team or two teams that everybody's excited to see, or that one player or two players that everybody's excited to see. And I think they were kind of talking about whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing for the tournament. And the person that was on, I can't remember who it was, maybe it was Seth Davis or somebody like that, kind of made this point that, it's not about the NCAA tournament is such a beast, such a great event, that it's not about the teams or players coming in sometimes, because there are going to be moments, maybe 4, 5, 6 moments that are created by the tournament. Somebody coming out of the woodwork and doing something amazing, or a team going on a run that maybe you don't even need that. So I don't know. I don't know what the storylines might be, because you're right. As they were talking about on the radio the other day, it's kind of right. There isn't that big team or big name, but the tournament seems to make those teams and names.
Yeah. If you think about, your George Masons a few years ago with the improbable run, South Carolina last year, the year before, was kind of a middle of the road team that ended up being in the Final Four. And, somebody had that discussion. I heard a similar one the other day about, this is completely up in the air. And it's this is the year that you just go chalk and pick, the top seeds to go all the way, because, we say it's going to be crazy and then it ends up just being, the same teams every year. But, I think you're right. I think that there's really not a dominant team. And I remember having this discussion in baseball in years past when the Yankees aren't good.
Hmm.
If the Yankees aren't good, do people watch the playoffs in
Right.
baseball? If you have a Miami, Cleveland, for example, when you have smaller markets that are competing, is that good? If you don't have your blue bloods, if you will, is that good for ratings? And I think you can get away with a year or two of that, but I don't think you can go too long. CBS can't go too long without a Duke or a Carolina or
Yeah.
a you know
Yeah.
Kentucky or UCLA, something like that.
Yeah. And I think that's true. I think that like maybe even if you looked over time, ratings would bear that out. But they were also talking about on the radio that it's more the anomaly to have a year where you do have a great team coming in that kind of everybody expects to win the tournament or get to the Final Four even. But I kind of agree that the tournament is the event itself. It doesn't necessarily need all the stars and the great teams a lot of times because it is the event, and we are going to end up with at least a few, without a doubt, of the 67 games. A few of those kind of iconic moments, shots that kind of stick around in highlight reels for years and years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun to watch. It's hopefully there are some of those upsets. There's been some great games, even in the championship week. Man, there was one there was one game that had just like this miracle 3-pointer, and now I'm forgetting it. I do love watching these smaller, I guess, conference tournaments. I watched a couple last night, and um, but there's been some pretty good games so far. Hopefully that carries over in the tournament.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I love it. Championship week is just about more fun for me sometimes than even the tournament. As much as I love the tournament, but the championship week with all these teams who they know they have to win or they're not in.
Right.
I think there's something fun about that, and maybe it's not fair, that the teams go through entire regular seasons and win their conferences and lose in a tournament and don't get in, but for me, I guess that's the beauty of this tournament.
Yeah.
Just the kind of do or die nature of everything that happens pretty much starting from March 1st and going through the beginning of April.
Well, yeah, that's actually the game I watched last night was the Northeastern Conference,
Hmm.
and LIU Brooklyn is like 17-16, and they beat the first seed Wagner, who was like 23-9. Wagner's not getting in
Yeah.
if they don't win, but I mean, you have an 18-16 team that made it in, and I know, I remember like an Oakland or something like that, a few years ago was below 500, and yeah, it is too bad for some of those, but it is. I mean, those are kind of the fun stories as well.
Right. No, I totally
So,
agree.
all right, moving on to Dad Moment of the Week. Omaha is hosting second round of the NCAA tournament. That's
Yes.
exciting. Have you been
That's,
down to practice?
uh-uh.
So we went. It must have been the last time they were in town. Watched Coastal Carolina and Wisconsin practice. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it was free because I can't afford like weekend tickets because they're ridiculous.
I know.
Um, so then we got to go like hang out down like right on the court. It was pretty cool.
I bet. That sounds awesome.
So yeah. All right. Dad, moment of the week tonight. So we've kind of lamented this before, but parent teacher conferences.
Hmm.
And we've talked about the purpose of them and what have you. So we had parent teacher conferences tonight. Um, I, I walk in not expecting anything out of the ordinary. If there is any problem, I should not have to have a problem when I walk in,
Yeah.
and everything was fine. It's you hear the same thing. It's nice to see some of the things they wrote. My second grader wrote a longer story than I ever have in my life, which is it's fun to see that kind of stuff. It's fun to see the teachers um, but it's just one of those things that there better not be any surprises when you walk in this age of communication. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to not know what you're walking into,
Right.
and it was good to to not have that happen tonight. So anyway, that we'll touch on some other dad stuff later about what we've been up to, but that would be my dad
Yeah.
moment of the week.
Mine goes back, like Josh mentioned earlier in the show. My oldest daughter, Grace, got her learner's permit to drive recently here. It was actually official. I think I posted a picture yesterday or the day before where it was official. The unfortunate part of this, and first, she's been doing a great job. Learning to drive, teaching someone to drive, not in a parking lot, is it can be a little nerve wracking, right? So she's been doing a great job, but our parent fail is we went to do the whole driver's test and all that, and we took her birth certificate. And what we found out when we got there after she had passed the test and we were ready to get going is that you had to have a social security card to do this, and we had no idea where her social security card was. So
you don't keep those around just for
well, you'd think, but I have no idea where that thing is, and we couldn't find it. So she was, on her birthday on February 26th, we went down there and she passed her test and all that, and we had to then hustle around to go down to the Social Security office and try and get a card. And we just got that, whatever that was, yesterday or the day before when I posted the picture. And so she became official at that moment. But she actually passed her test and did all that on her birthday, and now she's out on the roads with a parent. So, and like I said again, she's been doing a pretty great job learning that as she goes.
So I always thought you had to be 15. How does she get it at 14?
And I don't know if it's different states, I believe. Okay. In Iowa, it's 14.
Is it because you live farther away from school?
I don't think so. And she can't drive without a parent.
Yeah.
I think it's 14 and a half, and she hasn't taken driver's ed yet. So driver's ed is still to come. But I think it's once you take driver's ed and you're 14 and a half, she could actually get a school permit. Which would allow her to drive to school on her own. We're not anywhere near thinking about that, but that's kind of the next step. We're looking at whenever driver's ed happens, either this summer or this fall, and then she could really be even closer to official in terms of her driving. So
we actually still had driver's ed during the school day. So that was one of my second-hour classes when I was a sophomore. And our AD, who is still a great guy, was the driver's ed driver or instructor. Mm-hmm. So me and another girl, he let us drive in Omaha. So we would drive into town and run errands for him. I remember him having to take something to a middle school in OPS. He's like, all right, one of you is driving up, the other one's driving back. And so we'd do that instead of, that was our practice run.
Well, and it's become really expensive to do driver's ed. I can't remember what it is, but hundreds of dollars for the driver's ed course at this point. So I remember taking it at school also in the summer, but at school, and I don't know that we paid. And if we did, it was not expensive. But yeah, it's a pretty hefty fee now for the old driver's ed.
Crazy. Well, if you're watching us, you can see that one of these squares is now on the home of Maker Dads. However, Joe, you're muted and you're not in the picture.
He's nowhere to be found.
Oh, you guys wanted me in this thing tonight?
Yeah. Good call. Yeah.
Guys, what's going on?
Look at this! Oh boy!
So if you are listening after the fact, if you didn't know this, Joe is kind of an Eagles fan, and when I say kind of, that's like an understatement. So right now, Joe has a replica Lombardi trophy, or it's the real thing. I don't know. I don't know. But better than that, Joe has an Eagles stocking hat on, fully Christmas lit.
Look at that. Ben Gilpin sent me the most beautiful gift right before the playoffs. And I got a lot of use out of it. And it's good stuff. And those of you that don't know Philadelphia, we don't win anything. We don't win anything. So,
you know what's pretty awesome though, Joe? I think it's pretty great.
Fantasy football trophy, Devin. It was the first time I won my fantasy football trophy this year too. And
Wow.
ask any of the guys, I actually did not show up for the draft this year. And here I am with the hardware. So it just goes to show we stress about the draft, and what happens? It doesn't matter. So
yeah. Well, I was going to say that I like that you won the fantasy football. I was going to say it was awfully nice of the Eagles to say that because they never win, every fan gets a day with the trophy. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Lucky for us, I got mine in the mail the other day. So anyway, we're happy. It's been a good 2008 for us so far, and we're excited to talk Maker Dads with you guys tonight.
Oh man, you totally ruined my open, but I will. I'll go ahead and go back to it. We are more than pleased to be joined by Joe Mazza tonight. Joe's the co-founder and CEO of Maker Dads. Joe's appearance is built by the Home Depot. When the dads and head hosts need to pretend like they know how to fix something, they go to Home Depot.
Yes, we do.
Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be with you guys. And Devin, Josh, and I were texting back and forth earlier. And it's like when I started watching Dads and Ed, I was a 30-something-year-old principal that didn't have any children. And I was like, oh, that's really cute what you guys are doing. And I love it. Let's get fathers involved. And I mean, I always had a real interest. I wanted to try and find an intersection point between the family engagement work and innovation and whatnot. But now, you know, this is my makerspace. This is the family makerspace, so to speak. And it is the place where I can go for peace and quiet during the day, during the night, because 50 feet that way in the doors through the 8 inches of snow we got today are 4 kids under 6. So it's a big deal. It's bedtime in there. And my 5-year-old might be up watching this way past his bedtime. So, hey, Marky, how you doing, buddy? It's super cool to be on TV because I don't know about you guys, but our kids like to watch kids playing with toys and hobby kids or baby dolls or baby alive. And you know, my daughter literally climbs into bed with me in the morning and asks me for a baby show on the internet. And of course, I'm a sucker. I give it to her. But one of the reasons we're opening up a YouTube channel, as we'll get into, is because my kids spend time watching other kids and adults play with toys. So how do we kind of overthink that and get around that and put some content out there that is fun and exciting? Might be some toys involved, might not be, but it's actually things that dads and kids could be watching, as opposed to just hobby kids or all the Baby Alive shows out there. So,
or the adults that open up toys.
No rest for the weary here in this house.
So let's talk about Maker Dads, because you referenced that, you know, you were a principal, you were at Penn for a while doing the doctoral program, and now you're chilling out in your garage and cruising in the Maker Dad mobile around the country. So talk about, you know, where this inspiration for Maker Dads came from and how you got to that point that you get to do PD and making stuff all the time now.
Yeah, I mean, it is, Maker Dads is as real as it can possibly get for us. You know, my wife and I, and she's the co-founder because without her and all the things that she does on her side, I'm not able to get into the schools. I'm not able to be out here. I'm not able to do the things with the kids. So, wife and I are just finishing up month 5 of a family startup. And most startups I know don't, a lot of them do work out of their house, but the kids are the piece that we've kind of said, you know what a great time in our life. We're probably not going to be this busy ever in our life again with all these kids. Let's do a startup on top of it. So, so Maker Dads, really launched organic. And, I've done keynotes and workshops and I was out there in Nebraska. We did the tech session. And that's great. Workshops and keynotes are great. Being referred to as an expert in the field is great and all those kind of things. But the work I'm doing now is 12 months or I don't do it. So I'm working with schools for 12 months. And you can do a lot over time. So we come in with the big splash with the, the stuff that you see in the pictures the maker does, park the Tesla out in the recess yard, have a bunch of father engagement stations for 2 days, day 1 with dads and kids, day 2 with teachers. And then after that, I start that relationship with the staff over 12 months to really kind of work through all that. What you don't know is the space that I'm sitting in right now. I'm going to give you a quick, not 360. I sent you a picture, so you can feel free to put that out if you want.
Yeah, we will. Joe did text a couple pictures. We'll put that on the Dads on Ed hashtag. And if you're listening, you can always go to dadsoned.com. And we're about at minute 20. You can scroll ahead and take a look.
Cool. So I'm just going to give you a quick tour of the makerspace. Front wall are 2 Nareva boards, so it's basically 25-foot interactive wall. And it's a white wall, so I'm getting the Sherman-Williams stuff. This is kind of going to be the giant idea place. Over there is the workshop station, and my father-in-law just finished the work on that about a month ago. So now we're starting to use that more. That's kind of the adult side of the makerspace. And if I pan all the way over here, this is the kids side of the makerspace. So there's an imaginary line that goes right down the middle. Everything on this side, the kids can touch at will. And the Nintendo is in the middle with the Lego table and the sandbox. That kind of splits it up. And over there is kid friendly, but it's also, it's dads and moms have to be there with the kids to work with. There's lockers in the back. I don't know if you can see back there. That's for this Saturday. We're going to have an open make. And what that means is, we do what Home Depot does. They're doing from 9 to 12. We're going to do the second Saturday of the month from 9 to 12. And if you guys were within a drive, I'd say come on up on Saturday. Right now, I think we've got 7 dads and kids coming over this Saturday. Pre-K, elementary school, middle school. That's really kind of what we're focusing in on right now. And up the stairs is the mindful room, the place where there's no tech. You can nap, you can write a blog, you can just chill out and clear your head a little bit. So busy down here, quiet up there. There's an on-the-ground piece of this work, and that's what I'm trying to do by having people here in the space, so then we can continue to evolve the space through a student lens, through a parent lens, through a teacher lens. I've met with teachers here and principals here because I'm working with the district down the street. But yeah, it's really hitting on a lot of different avenues. I guess Josh and Devin, the quickest way I can say it to you guys, since I've known you for several years now, is the first 20 years you try to understand exactly what's going on in the field and where your tiny place is that you can do something and make a difference. And yes, I'm 5 years past my doctorate, so what the heck am I doing with that? Really expensive degree. What am I doing with it? So this is it. This is the idea. It came up in an Ed Camp leadership last year, the idea. I was just sitting around with a bunch of dads and it's like, you know what? We need to make making not just a thing that people do to create a makerspace. Making can look a million different ways. And let's bring them all out of the community. Let's bring them out in moms and dads and teachers because making is human. It's not it's not school, it's not home, it's not so that's what we're doing. We're trying to embrace all the low-hanging fruit that we see on a day-to-day basis. And you may have seen the pictures today or yesterday from the pizza shop. Yeah. We went and we took a 360 video. I'm editing it right now, and my old Mac doesn't have iMovie on it because it doesn't have, the software is too old. So I'm trying to figure out a web-based video editor because I haven't edited video in a couple years now. To be able to pull this off. It really looks great. I can't wait to show it to you guys. I was actually hoping to have it tonight, but I don't. But we put a 360 camera on the pizza shop manager Dan's head yesterday. Went through it. My son asked him a bunch of questions, 5-year-old questions about pizza, and then we got it out. It's about 5 minutes, and the goal is to get that out to the schools. And the schools check it out through the eyes of a maker. Let's take a pizza maker, for example. How does that all work from beginning to end? So that's the normal video like we all see on YouTube. But then we got a second one that's coming out right on it, and that's a 360. So you put your headset on, and then you become Dan, the pizza guy, and you see everything he's making as he goes from flour to putting it in the oven to putting it in a box on the way out the door. So that's the kind of stuff that we're looking to do with schools. That's the first one. That is in the sending area of the school that I'm working here off the street. So they not only have a relationship like we do on Friday nights where we get pizza from this place, but we're also kind of digging deeper and getting to know on a personal level, you know, how a business is run, what it looks like to make pizza, all those kind of things that kids and dads and moms were curious about, but we're going to try and get it out there. And really that's what the whole Maker Dads TV is all about, is getting community stories out there. Because there's a lot of intersecting points that us as educators aren't necessarily taking advantage of right now.
Well, I guess that's what talk a little bit about. If I'm a school, what's the why am I going down that road? Of all the things that happen, you know, right now in schools and all the things that are emphasized in schools, what's to get a school to want to do something like that? Because obviously we agree, like, right? We think this is great stuff. But what's in it for a school? Why would they make the decision to kind of like to believe that this is an important thing they should go after?
Yeah, so I was a school principal for almost 8 years, about 30 minutes away from here, Knapp Elementary School. That's kind of where I got my start in family and community engagement and Twitter and Facebook, even though both of those were blocked. I remember using 3G and going to the ends of the schools to try and get a little bit of service and send a tweet out about what the cool things our kids and teachers and parents were doing. Again, all of us remember 2011 and 12 and how naughty it was to be on social media as an educator. But I think that those same people have made such a great difference in the field by leveraging it over the last 7-8 years that that's not a real worry anymore. Now everybody wants to do it and they want to just turn it on. And this is a process. And I'm trying to take schools through a design thinking process, through a student voice process from the very first meeting. So empathy is the biggest part of all of this. Empathy, innovation, empowerment. You know, we've got to have empathy for what our kids want to be making, what our community. I mean, it's the first page of Laura Fleming's book. Every makerspace should be different because every community is different. So we're really trying to bring that to life, give people examples. We're getting community libraries involved in the work. I don't have any big name sponsors or anything like that yet, but you know, it is hard, you know, on a budget, of a family budget, trying to launch a business. So we're trying to be creative. We're trying to lean on our strengths, which is, you know, social media and leaning on PLN. And I'm a principal. So when I'm having a conversation with another principal about this work, I'm not an assembly. You know, I'm not coming in to do something and then leave you with a bag. You know, I'm coming in to light the pilot light on innovation for 2 full days in your school. All these things that your students have selected to come into your school. And then over the next 12 years, I'm going to work with you and hold your hand. Physically, virtually. That's how I have this teaching and learning space set up, so I can be doing the teaching and I can be showing, you know, Skyping back and forth with Laura Fleming, comparing maker spaces, you know, and really kind of getting to the next level. So in answer to your question, Josh, you know, this isn't designed for innovation. This is designed for a school that's really doing it well. This is designed for every school that needs to have a system that sustains itself. And we're going to empower people. This is not a principal or the librarian's job to do this work. You know, this is everybody on deck. This is everybody. Everybody needs to step up, and it starts with the parents because they have the first preschool and kindergartners that love to make, and they should be making all day anyway. So why do we stop that?
You know, and you can follow Maker Dads on at Maker Dads on Twitter and Instagram, which I've been doing. And I noticed that one of the things that you're starting up right now is a book chat with a number of different districts. So talk a little bit about that and where you see that going.
So I don't know if you remember PT Camp. PT Camp was 4 years ago in the summer. It was an experiment using Voxer to have a book chat. The book was Beyond the Bake Sale. Ann Henderson, Karen Mapp, continues to be like the handbook for homeschool partnerships. Every principal I know, I recommend it to them to get and read before they even, you know, kind of get in that role. But that model, you know, is the same model that we're going to carry forth with the Maker Dads. So if you look at the 4 schools we've worked with, this week they're all hooked up on Voxer. Next week we start chapter 1 of Laura's book. Laura joins, I join as like the cruise director, and I run each of the 4 schools and whoever's participating through those. Every 2 weeks we change chapters. So not only am I helping them think outside the box and outside their group think of their schools, but now all of us are talking about this work a little bit at a time. And we're lucky enough to have Laura, who is going to join us for some of that chat as well. So again, everything by nature is connected. So Josh, I'm not going to teach the way that I've been taught. I'm going to do what I know is the best way to do it in 2018. And growing your tribe has been so important in my professional and personal life. So I absolutely want every one of those teachers and principals and parents and kids at the end of the day, because these are all possible mystery Skypes and possible other collaborations across other schools that if they don't meet each other, they never have the opportunity to do that. So that's a part of this, you know, and I think the connected educator understands what I'm trying to do more than the person who maybe hasn't dabbled on Twitter or Instagram yet. But you guys see how deep I'm trying to make it. I really want, I mean, this is a 12-month relationship. And if these 4 schools do well this year, then I don't need to answer the phones and tell everybody from ground zero every day. I answer like 10 calls a day telling people what it is. And some of them are just like, oh, you know, we haven't, you know, we still have YouTube blocked and I'm not sure this is going to be a good idea yet. And so the state of the field is, you know, we need this yesterday. And I'm working on elementary and middle school spaces right now. We're in talks with some high schools about launching some real companies out of high schools. Why do we need to wait to do a startup at college or do an internship in college? Why can't we do that in middle school and high school? You know, where it's appropriate. So there's a lot of really cool entrepreneurial work going on already. How do we spread that message and get other schools, school leaders believing that that's a possibility for them, not just a pipe dream that is going to cost $1 million. Everything you see behind me is Craigslist free, hand-me-downs, stuff that we've invented. We love pallets. We try to do everything we possibly can with pallets. But schools need to be thinking that way. You know, this stuff can be economical. We could have an upcycle area in every one of our schools. Doesn't matter what grade level it is. So yeah.
So take it outside of the school for a second. What's one of the coolest things that you've been able to make or create with your kids?
Yeah. We were making last year when we were going, the 3D print, I'm not showing you that because the laptop I'm talking to you on is actually sitting on top of it right now. So there's a frog in there that just finished. I should show you the frog that we made earlier. But we are, like last year we started making bird feeders for outside right around this time in the spring. And we put a 2-liter bottle that was done upside down, and then we make on a 3D printer the base of the bird feeder. So put the seed inside, screw it because the thing had threads, and then we'd hang them in trees. So we found that that wasn't exactly working so well last year, so we didn't make any more because the squirrels started eating the 3D, the filament. Turns out that squirrels are big fans of Dremel's filament. So honestly, every day is another opportunity to make something. In here, this is not a makerspace, and it never will be, where you're going to have clean tops. There's always going to be things. That's why we have lockers, so people can throw their stuff in there and continue it next time, the next month, the next 3 hours. So just like in the house, which is the real makerspace where everything is going on kid-wise, you know, projects are stopped and started and left out and this and that, and you know, but I mean, one project, I guess I would say, geez, my kids, their favorite place in the world is the beach. So the best thing we made last year was at the beach in Wildwood. You know, it wasn't a fancy makerspace or whatnot. But again, we gotta allow kids to be kids, and us as parents can't forget that we were kids and we still are kids. Our bodies have just grown. So, you know, the whole tinkering piece, we lose that sometimes when we become an adult. You know, when we're talking about these maker spaces and innovations labs in schools, Josh and Devin, we're not just talking about kids. You got to have a place where the adults and the kids can be learning right? Like the stuff is not, we're not going to go back to college and learn how to use a 3D printer. We have to take it upon ourselves to do that. Same thing with coding. Kids graduating high school making 140 at Google. There's a coding station in here. You need to code. I mean, it's not hard. On a Commodore 64, coding was basic. There wasn't a whole lot that we were doing with those programs outside of the internet. So you mentioned Home Depot. We are leaning on Kids Workshop a lot because it's been going on for 20 years, and I'm still shocked by the amount of people I found out that they don't even realize it happens. So it's the first Saturday every month, 9 to 12. HomeDepot.com/workshops. You can RSVP online. They send you a nice little email. It goes in your calendar. If it's on my calendar, it's not happening. So, and a lot of other dads, it's the same thing. And we just started the Band app that you saw, Josh. Devin, I hope you get on there too. And this is the place where we're going to be telling dads about where they could go locally. What they could host, what's coming up, what they think that somebody should be doing. I want to, have, because right now we don't have a place. And somebody's like, oh, are you going to allow moms in? I'm like, well, most of the time the answer is yes. But also you have to look out for, our dad's going to be open to sharing some things if there's moms there. And I think that there's a conversation needs to take place there. But this is built just for dads at each one of the schools that I'm working for. But I'm also opening up to all dads. My brother who's a dad, some of my family and friends. So the Band app is, again, I'm going to schools working with teachers, but the thing missing for me is I need to be continuing to tell dads of what's possible. I need to connect them some way. Because we're not talking about teachers. We're talking about teachers, plumbers, construction guys, business, accountants, you name it. We need to find something to bring all those folks together. So when you see Band, the app, BAND, that's what that's for. It's for getting dads involved, getting dads to come to one band. Let's share out the great stuff that we're doing with kids, things that relate to school, things that have nothing to do with school. But let's get together. Let's have a place, because right now I don't have that personally. So I need it, and it fits with the work that we're doing. So we're going to try and grow that. We're going to share Dads on Deck podcast there. We're going to share Dads in Ed podcast there. Everything that relates to anything being a daddy, we want to put there, and hopefully it'll grow organically over the next couple of years, and it'll be a good, healthy spot that you want to visit.
Well, and I think, unfortunately, we have to be intentional about inviting dads in, because for a long time, school and learning has stereotypically been a female thing because of mom staying home, and dads, there's just a stigma sometimes attached to that. So I think, unfortunately, we have to be intentional about that invitation, and hopefully we can change that narrative a little bit. So you showed us some of the stuff in the shop, but we've known you for a number of years. What's up next? Like, what else are you building to add? Can we get like a sneak peek or a insider information that?
There's no insider. I mean, Josh, you and I have known each other for a while, so this is it, man. This is it.
Breaking news live on Dads and Ed.
So I don't know. You haven't been to my house, but I have a big lawn, and I did it with a push mower in the last couple of years. So this is going to be the deal that does it for me this year. This is the lawn drone. This is the lawn drone.
So that's like the Roomba of lawns.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the Roomba of lawns. This is the guy.
Wow.
This is the guy. So this is the next part. Honestly, it's more of a time saver for me. But yeah, there's nothing crazy or sneak peek about that. I don't know how it works yet. I got to figure all that out.
I think it involves a cold beverage.
Tool wall behind me. Do you see the tool wall behind me?
Yeah.
No, you don't, because there's no tool wall behind me. I don't have any tools, man. Like, I feel like I'm not a handyman. I hired a handyman to do things in here because I don't do that. I screw it up. And God forbid one of my kids or my wife gets hurt. So my father-in-law will do it. I'll clean up the dust. So everything in here is very intentional. And I think that's the piece. And again, I'm 40 years old, and I'm just another overweight 40-year-old guy who spends a lot of time in the garage, but everything out here is very targeted. You know, we really want to be a good model for the elementary and middle schools that are really making these spaces, and being inclusive of kids in here. You know, I think that's really important. It can't be just a space that looks nice. You know, it's got to get dirty. You've got to have a spot where you're not saying, oh, you can't be in here. Because that's what I did the first year of this, having this garage. Before, I mean, we had cars in here. We sealed off the doors. We made the whole thing what it is, what you see, and we're still going. But, you know, I really want to be inclusive. I want to say, yes, come on in, continue with what you were working on, or let's do something together and whatnot, instead of like, oh, this is mine, don't touch my stuff. Because that's kind of what we went through the first year, and it really got me thinking, like, if I'm doing this work, then I need to change my practice. I need to change things up, and that starts with the way the room looks. And you know, the area within the first 10 steps of the door is kid friendly. So no matter if he or she, because I've got, you know, 3 other ones coming, when they walk over, they can kind of be out here. So when you guys are in Philly, you got to stop by. Hopefully it's on a Saturday. You can stop by for an open make or anytime. We're also the official crash hotel of Jimmy Casas, Ben Gilpin, Derek McCoy. The list is long and distinguished. Yeah, we've got an extra bedroom in the house or 2, and it's a little crazy there now. I don't recommend it, but hopefully someday this is going to be a maker space, like a gym for makers.
Yeah.
You know, I don't invite the public over. I don't want anyone in the world just coming over here, but you know, there are lots of Catholic schools out there that have closed down. Could you imagine putting a different maker space in every one of those classrooms? That would be so powerful. A gym for makers, open just as much as the 24/7 fitness. You know, so anyway, I think there's a lot to do in this work. I think there's a lot. I mean, the next 20 years, this is where I'm going to be. I hope it grows as well as it's growing right now. I'm getting a lot of calls, a lot of good feedback. But the most important thing for me is really doing a good job for these principals that I'm working with, and the schools, the parents, continuing to help them grow, because this innovation needs to be a part of every school, not just schools in Silicon Valley, you know, not just schools in this setting, or charter schools or private schools. You know, it's every school. There are makers in every school. There are makers in every community. So our work is really bringing them together and shining a spotlight on it.
And obviously, you know, it's awesome work, and we're really excited about it. We've talked a little bit about the Instagram to be able to follow along with some of that stuff. How else can people get information about this movement? Where else can they find content? Where would you send people to kind of find out more?
Yeah, Facebook.com/MakerDads has been kind of the entry community. We're also tweeting at MakerDads, Instagram at MakerDads. We have a new website that really opened up for the blog and some other things. Maker-dads.com. Try to get makerdads.com, but the person who owned it wanted a little bit more money than a 5-month-old startup could handle. So it said, you know what? Maker-dads it is. That's where we are. Started blogging again, Josh. It's been a couple of years since I was writing, and that includes being super late for a couple books right now. But I'm writing again. It's called Dopamine Daddy. Really just trying to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you help the people in your care, whether that be your kids, your wife, your teachers, you know, whatever that is. And there's a mental health piece in Ed Right Now, the book that just came out. Jeff Zoll and I corralled a bunch of great human beings together last summer for the Principals Conference, and we're gonna do it again this year, this summer. So yeah, I think we gotta take care of ourselves. We got to model for what we're doing for our own kids, but also the kids that we see on a daily basis at school.
So I want to go back to a discussion that we had earlier on. You know, you talked about Philly never wins anything. Describe Philadelphia in early February on a Sunday evening. So we are a family show. Let me start with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we went outside to bang pots and pans with my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old. when we won the NFC Championship game, and it was midnight, and that was when we looked at our kids, and they gave us this look, and just like, our parents are officially crazy.
Yeah.
But when we did it after the Super Bowl, and then they saw like hundreds of people screaming the flag was fly chant, this and that, and that was crazy. And we were like walking toward the big crowds that you saw on TV, but we stopped about like 10 blocks short of the big one. So we went to like the side street and took our little picture and went home and put the kids to bed. But
Right.
I don't know. It's just crazy. It's a nice feeling of not just the underdog part, but just sticking together, just sticking together. And Carson Wentz went down. I was in the airport in Dallas, and all the Dallas Cowboy fans were like, "Woo! Yeah, it's over now for you, Eagles." And I felt like, hey, we've been down this road before. You're right. We're probably done. Unless somehow we get home field advantage and we get a little lucky here and there. But yeah, man, I'm hoping that Nick Foles is the lead off keynote for the Maker Dad Summer Retreat. That's my goal. I got my wife working on that one.
Nice.
But yeah, it's been really great in Philadelphia. Just being able to give high fives and hugs over the last couple of weeks. And I got that Lombardi on the top of my desk for 12 months. I'm going to enjoy it every day. 12 months. So, yeah, man, it's a happy time right now. But I don't watch the news, man. We've been just grinding. We've been really busy, and my wife has been an absolute rock star and a rock through all this and getting this off the ground. We're learning how to work together better too. And I always try to remind myself, like, we got married because we loved each other and a lot of other crazy stuff, but we didn't get married because we were business savvy.
Right.
Neither of us have a business administration degree. None of us went to Wharton to get a degree. So that's the part we're struggling in as a business, just knowing how to do that, how to get paid right, how to write contracts, how to negotiate, all those things that we're not used to doing. But it's really exciting, and I appreciate you guys, having a conversation, letting us talk about it a little bit tonight.
Yeah, and it was kind of, I was looking forward to it a lot because I've been following along, but to hear more about it and how you're planning to move it forward, and I love the family feel of it, right? I mean that you guys are kind of doing this together, not just you and your wife, but your kids are involved, and it sounds like there's no doubt it's going to be successful and a lot of fun. We did have somebody ask on the Twitter about would it be possible to record the Maker's Dad event on Saturday and post it so out-of-state people could see what that was like? So just know that there was some hope maybe to see what that looks like from one of the people that watches down in Missouri.
Yeah, I will see if I can get the permission from the dads in the room to go on Facebook Live. That was the thought, because we haven't done that yet. I don't even know how to do it. Facebook Live was not allowed at Knapp Elementary School when I was principal there. So same thing with the third row, Josh. I still haven't figured that part out.
Good luck.
But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely try to share it. And again, like, think about this. What if every community had a makerspace? And maybe it already does. Maybe it's called the library now at the community. And maybe it's still be quiet when you come in your place. Maybe someone hasn't been empowered yet to make it happen. So, that's the goal of mine. I would love to see people building makerspaces in communities, not just schools. They absolutely need to be in schools. Absolutely. And again, for teachers too. Why wouldn't you want to have an incubator to launch entrepreneurial work out of your school, to bring income into your school, and to let your teachers and parents and kids think? So again, I think there's a lot of opportunity for it. Right now we need to kind of give people some idea of what it might look like at a very low level and kind of expand from there. So keep an eye on these 4 schools. Todd Schmidt's school, Harborview out in California, Mark French's school, Gatewood up in Minnesota, Crystal Clark, Amy Flynn's school here in Cheltenham, Wingfoot Elementary School, and Principal Nauman's school over in Delaware. That is Shields Elementary School. But they're already doing some really great things. We're going to connect them with the book chat next week, and then then I'm really excited just to see them thinking across the board together and really growing this organically and having it take off. What are you guys doing in schools as it relates to this work?
We just started our makerspace challenge or cardboard challenge, excuse me, with our elementary school, 2nd through 5th grade. Our librarian there this year is new and inherited kind of like your garage from a grant that we got last year. And so she this is her first year in the library as well. So she's a little bit overwhelmed with everything. But we were actually at Camp Omaha, and one of the teachers there had talked about, just monthly challenges. And so February into March has been the cardboard challenge, and they have made everything from marble runs to settings from the books that they've been reading. And so at the elementary, that's one of the big things that we do. At the middle school, we have another big makerspace area that actually came from the same grant. They bring their classes in. They sign up on a weekly basis to bring classes in to, build either. I think they have a couple Osmos there. They have a Lego wall that they do some building. Trying to figure out more ways with that middle school group to create some of those products, that you were kind of talking about.
Yeah. A lot of times we need to get out of the way, and let them.
Exactly.
I would say that, Josh knows a little bit about our district as well, but that stuff's really tough here. That's so tight in terms of what happens in our schools right now, which is kind of sad. And, right now I know talking about eliminating variance is kind of the term right now. Variance.
I don't even know what that word means.
Yeah. Eliminating the variance of what's happening from class to class and building to building. And that's kind of tough. So it makes it really hard to go out and even attempt to look at doing something different. I know that, I've kind of pushed, we have a new space in one of our high schools. What was the library is now more of a learning commons. And we've I've really pushed to purchase some things in there to allow kids to do some simple making, even if it's with things that are created like the Makey-Makeys and some fly bricks and some stuff like that, where they can go in and just kind of mess around. It was I kind of had to circumvent some rules there and just put some Legos out on the tables just so they could have, I just kind of put them out one night and said, let's see what happens. And now every time kids are in there, they're building things with the Legos and making things. And so it's, I'm trying to get that to grow a little bit, but even in that school, it's hard to figure out, I've got, there's pushback and resistance on how we get kids in there, and they should be in class and all that. So it's tough. And I know in our system to really push for anything that kind of fights back against the norm sometimes.
Yeah, we'll keep pushing and keep putting the stuff out. I think libraries are doing the same thing. Old libraries are in the same boats as some of these old schools. They have this, they have stacks, none of the space, all the power's on one wall. It's not designed for this kind of work. So we need to kind of keep putting it out there. I mean, this is basic neuroscience. When you make, you have a dopamine rise in your head. So you're going to do better on whatever assignment or project or activity you're going to do next.
Right.
So why wouldn't we build that in by nature in every day?
And we've been pretty lucky that some of our teachers that are quick to latch on, whether it's technology or this kind of thing, it becomes, this is what we are going to do. Not this will be fun. This is what, we want, all the kids to have that experience. Real quick, got to give a shout out to those chiming in on the YouTube chat. Superfan Bill's in the house, of course. Chris Nessie, Godfather of the Edu Podcast Network, checking in. Tim Holes, last time's guest, is back. Glad we didn't scare Tim away all that much. Jim York, friend of the show. Love the idea of maker dads, taking time to create is so important. Tim Holes brought up, you didn't name drop him, but I thought of it as you were talking, about the incubator, but the work that Don Wettrick does. I know that Tim Holes, they've interviewed him. I think they've interviewed him on Edgy EDU and does a lot of that incubator, high school type stuff. But as you were talking about some of those things and designing that his name popped up in my head as well.
Yeah, Don and I are trying to get time together so we can do a podcast together.
Yeah.
We swung and missed the last 2 weeks, so hopefully next week we can make it happen. But I every time I see him, he's talking about something else that seems super cool.
Yeah,
to me,
it drives me nuts. Really,
6 months I haven't been able to like move my head from this whole thing. But yeah, he's doing awesome. He's always done awesome stuff.
We've had him on, haven't we?
I mean, here's the thing: like we've been connected for 6 years now. You pretty much know what people are doing.
Yeah.
That's the part where I feel really good about where I'm going with this work, is because I know who I'm talking to and I can refer them back for multiple years with some of this work. So it really does become relationship based. When I'm going into these people's schools, I don't want to let them down. You know, like I really want this to be a grand slam when I get there both days and really be the best PD that any teacher has ever had in their careers, like period. Like why not? So yeah, I mean, I have to say that, but at the end of the day, that's how hard I'm working here to make that stuff happen, because you know we got crappy PD in a lot of different areas. We don't have to. That's our choice now. You know, how do we kind of turn up the volume? What are you guys doing with your kids this weekend? I know it's only Wednesday.
What are we doing this weekend? I don't know what we're doing this weekend.
The conference go. I started listening to it. Was there any surprises?
How'd what go?
Your parent-teacher conference. Didn't you have one today?
Oh yeah, no surprises. Yeah,
That's
no big
good.
deal.
That's
The funniest thing, so my daughter, the perfectionist, got 5 minutes on the wall at recess today for talking. And it was funny. She doesn't get in trouble at all. And she like came and found me when I got home when no one else is around to tell me that she was talking too much. And I'm like, Lane, I don't care. It's not a big deal. Like if you hauled off and hit someone, you'd at least better have a good reason for it. But I don't really care. Like it was adorable, you know. It was just so funny.
I was trying to explain to my 5-year-old tonight. We were playing some Super Mario Brothers, and he was screaming at the screen because he kept dying. He's just, this is his first video game that he's playing ever. He's 5. I'm like, oh, do I do this? And you know, I spent so many hours on that game back in the day where I could get back a little bit. Yeah. But him and I were talking about somebody, and we were talking about and again, this is why we have this space. We just get into these conversations.
Yeah.
We start talking about friends. We're talking about, you know, sometimes you have this friend and maybe they're not friends for a while and you find other friends. And he was asking about somebody, and I was telling him I was trying to go around the bush and not kind of really hone in on it because he's 5 and I can't talk to him like he's my wife. And so he's like, Daddy, I think you should just send him a poop emoji. Oh my God.
That's how you handle the business these days.
I'm so glad you're around.
That is awesome. Hey, before we get to the sharing is caring part of the show, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask, you know, one of the things that this podcast is based off. And you and I were talking earlier today and in the last few days, and you know, we've been doing this since 2013. A lot of our inspiration, you know, whether we've ever told you that or not, comes from some of the early, you know, parent communication stuff that you were doing. And you know, and I think a lot of we were talking today about all the new podcasts, and we don't ever expect credit because people are doing some amazing things. But part of it is we've been doing this so long. I think you'd be hard pressed to find, you know, I think you'd find a number of podcasts that are like, well, we saw those guys do it. I mean, we could do it, you know, and not necessarily being an inspiration, but talk. Well, our podcast here, Dads and Dad, is really based off that intersection of being a parent and being an educator, which again is, you know, that thinking kind of came from some of the work that you were doing early on. Talk about you though. How is becoming a parent now, and obviously, you know, you said, you know, your son goes next year to school, but how has that impacted your role and what you see in education and what, you know, you're doing in Maker Dads and vice versa? How does what you're doing impact you as a parent?
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, having kids totally changes your compass on everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, wife and I got married. We We didn't have kids, so this is a whole different life on every level possible. Having one kid. When you guys started your podcast, I had a 1-year-old, and that was great, but we had a lot of free time. But now, with 4 kids, and all of them mobile, all of them walking at this point, you could go get yourself a cup of coffee and come back, and nobody's in the same room you were at, and that's really scary. With 1-year-old kids running around with stairs and whatnot. But I think that every day, we talk about learning is messy, and we massage it. We think it's great, but this is the real work. And every day I'm succeeding and I'm failing. As a parent, every day. Just trying to get it right, trying to change my practice to not only listen and try to be a good listener with my kids, but also to I need to give him a better structure. Lauren and I have been talking about that lately too, because we're getting into a better routine on our Monday through Friday, because working from home is hard. It's not easy. Now that this place is under control, I can work out here more, but for a while I was working in the winter, like in the basement or inside. I have a kerosene heater in here for now. It topped out at 55 degrees here today. But I mean, you do the best that you can. And without saying, hey, my wife is my teammate, and I've really got to make sure that I'm checking in and being that teammate every day and saying, you know what, this is really important to me, but also, I don't think I'll ever acquire enough coins to like make up for everything that she's done to raise these kids. But I can at least say, hey, I'm sorry, or, set the coffee to go off in the morning for her, or, help, let her go out to the store and get a little break. We're learning things to be better at our relationship. Now having kids, I think, is super important. And being a dad is not just being a good dad to your kid, it's also being a good husband to your wife. And I'm getting better at that. I think it's always going to be a work in progress, but I'm really conscious of it. And the Maker Dads work allows me to really force myself to really making sure I nail that every day and really hitting that. So I guess the answer to your question is it's a newfound sense of empathy. When I was engaging families as a school principal, I did it as a dissertation topic. I studied it for 2 full years. I knew way more about it than I needed to, but it also, now I can put those lenses together and say, okay, I've got an educator lens on family engagement with the research. I'm a dad now, and I've got 4 kids that are very different from each other. And I'm taking my kid to preschool in the morning, and some days he's going right in, some days he's holding on to me. So I'm trying to read them. So every day it's a new, it's a learning experience, and it doesn't stop when they graduate elementary school. It shouldn't stop when they go into middle school and high school. And, even after that, people need dads. People need male role models, granddads, whoever it is, they need that person. Can't just be mom. Sometimes it has to be, totally understand, but who are the other male role models in the child's life that could be activated? Who does this kid have a relationship with? And I want to make sure that my kid has plenty of those role models, around. And hopefully he says I'm one of them too. But it's exciting. It's really fun being a dad. The twins totally make my day. Every time I see them, they're just totally smiling and happy and crazy. And Molly's a total sweetheart. She just turned 3 the other day. So yeah, we're in good shape in the family department. It's a lot though, man. 4 kids, it's nuts.
No joke, man.
Nuts. On some days, it's like, you gotta be kidding me. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that we have 4 kids. So
we for the first time, we took all 4 of them to parent-teacher conferences tonight, and our 18-month-old decided it'd be fun to run in and out of the room as we were trying to discuss what my 4th grader has been working on.
Nice. Well, luckily it was no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If it would have been like an IEP, principal in their meeting, that would not have gone over well. Luckily, everyone handled it, and she looked adorable doing it. So
that's great.
All right. Well, we're going to do a little sharing is caring, where we share whatever it is that you want to share. Can you hold on for a couple more minutes?
Yeah, man.
All right. So I was actually planning on sharing this before we scheduled you to be on tonight. But last week we purchased the 3Doodler Create. Yes, it is a 3D creation pen. So you have your 3D printer that has to hook up to a computer, and it prints out this nice polished thing. This is simply, think of like a hot glue gun meets 3D printer. You stick in the filament in the back, you push a button, it heats it up. As it comes out, it hardens. So you have this piece of plastic then, but it's just freehand. My kids have totally eaten it up. So last week, the $100 pen was on sale on Amazon for like $20. And I think when I looked the other day, it was like 26 now. I mean, it's great. My daughter last night, if you go to the 3Doodler website, they have like printouts of templates you can get. So she found a tiara that she wanted to make. So she made the tiara. We drew them both on the paper, and then we had to teamwork to melt the two pieces together. And then she took different colors of filament and then decorated it with different dots. So kind of taking what they're doing and making it their own. My son tonight printed out a basketball clip art and made like a full circle all filled in. So it's cool. It's not nearly as polished as what you would get out of a 3D printer, but it was $20 too. So or 100, which is still cheaper than a lot of the 3D printers, and just freehand. There's no computer involved. It's pretty sweet. My kids are loving it. So when you ask what we're doing this weekend, that's probably going to be what we're doing. I did hear today mono price. You can get filament refills there pretty cheap. So
okay, I'm gonna check it out. Like I told you, like here's our 3D printer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I've had this thing for 3 years now, and I don't work for Dremel, so let me just put that out there. I don't self-love for them like that. I haven't run like 12 hours a day when I'm with schools, and the thing is a champ. I've had it 3 years, and I've changed filament after filament after filament. Dude, we printed 20 Lombardi trophies, man. Like this thing did not quit, man. It was a machine. So anyway, yeah, 3D is cool. And the last thing I'm going to share with you guys is look out for Pallet Wood Derby.
Pallet Wood Derby.
Yep. Pinewood Derby for the Cub Scouts, but not everybody gets to be a Cub Scout. Not every girl gets to be a Cub Scout. So we're going to reinvent it. We're going to reimagine it. Pallet Wood Derby. Completely upcycled cars. My father-in-law and I are building a track right now on Sundays. Probably saw some of those pictures the other day. But we're going to print the wheels on a 3D printer. That'll be the only aftermarket part. The piece of pallet will be the body. The wheels will be printed. The top will be a flat bed of Lego, and then the kids will build it up from there. So that'll be a new station in the spring for schools, but it'll be in our basement when it's not out in the schools.
Nice. Real quick, I just added the link. I just tweeted out the link for the 3Doodler that we got. It's still $25 if you go with the butterscotch colored one. They're fabulous. So, Devin.
Awesome. I'm going to do a quick share. I know the last time we were together, we talked a little bit about the school shooting in Florida. And since then, I just wanted to share a quick kind of a challenge. There's an advocacy group of educators, Jason Markey in Illinois, who was a former guest on the show, kind of started this advocacy group to get rid of what we're calling weapons of war. And the petition we put out there has over 3,000 signatures right now, and doing some work with legislators both locally and at the national level. And I just wanted to share. I'm going to share that out on the hashtag. But we would really, kind of challenge. Really, we're trying to build this out from educators, by educators, and to have educators sign that and sign on to saying that regardless of other things that we need to take care of, getting rid of these weapons that are kind of causing as much havoc as they do is one step in the right direction. And so just wanted to shout out to Jason for starting that group. And then there are lots of educators in there doing all kinds of really great work. And I'll share the link to the petition on our hashtag. And again, we want to make sure everybody sees it and has a chance to chime in on that and support it if they wish. But I think Jason and that group is doing some really good work.
But I can't hit a deer with a rifle. I need a semi-automatic. Anyway, whole nother discussion.
Yeah, no doubt.
We have come to the end of the show. Joe, we cannot thank you enough for coming back on. You are repeat guest number 2, and the only repeat guest we asked who we didn't happen to actually be in the same spot at that time. So the other one was just a matter of convenience. This we've actually wanted to have you back on.
I just think it's because I'm actually a legit dad now. I actually have 4 kids. Like I'm in over my head, so I seem like a good candidate to talk to you guys.
Yeah, we do. It's a way to keep your sanity a little bit.
No, and I don't think I said it earlier before, but you know, I love what you guys do. I've always loved what you guys do from day one. I finally feel like I can help grease your wheels. Where before I was doing, I still work at Penn, but I work part-time. I teach 2 classes. But now my full plate is Maker Dads, and that's the first time I feel like in the last, 10 years that I can imagine I have one focus. And that's really powerful for me because I've done way too many things an inch deep. So, yeah, looking forward to it. There'll be lots more to come, lots more for dads. August 3rd and 4th, we're going to have a Maker Dads retreat 2-day with child, dads, granddads, male role models here in Elkins Park, where I've already secured the closed down Catholic elementary school down the road. Used to have 250 kids. We're going to bring it back to life for a couple days this summer. So I'll send you guys more information about it. The save the date just went out, but we're going to do everything we're doing at the schools on site. We'll go do parent camp, a whole bunch of other stuff that you won't be surprised about.
Awesome. That is great to hear. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Adios. See you guys. Have a good night.